If you are a fan of Dog the Bounty Hunter, then you undoubtedly remember Baby Lyssa, the feisty teen with attitude who could hang with the big boys and more than hold her own. However, Lyssa Chapman's life completely changed when the episode concluded. We're talking about headline-grabbing incidents, arrests, breakups, and an astonishing metamorphosis that nobody anticipated. Some thought she vanished into the background. Truth is, she was rebuilding, and now she's back in the spotlight for reasons that have nothing to do with bounty hunting. Wondering where she is now and what she's up to. This comeback story is anything but typical, so stay tuned. As you can see, Lyssa's life wasn't exactly off to the best start. Her parents parted not long after she was born, and the early parting left a mark. While other little girls were playing home and dreaming about perfect families, Lyssa just wanted two parents who could be in the same room without tearing each other apart. After the separation, she moved in with her dad in Denver. But they weren't alone. The majority of the parenting was handled by her 5-year-old sister, Barbara. Their neighborhood was difficult, with drugs and violence all around. But Dog's name held weight, and that kept most of the danger at bay. Her dad was often busy with work and constantly surrounded by women. Yet, Lyssa still felt a close bond with him. She considered herself a daddy's girl, even if the reality at home didn't always reflect that. When she was 6 years old, everything changed, and the family decided to go to Hawaii. Lyssa found island living to be an odd combination of hardship and brightness. All of them jammed into a tiny studio apartment in Honolulu, attempting to make it work. But her dad had this way of creating memorable moments. Like the time he gave them candy, like they were in a parade, drove them across the city, and leased a fancy automobile. It was crazy, certainly, but it was also the kind of stuff a kid might latch onto. Still, pleasant moments didn't obliterate the terrible ones. When Dog's substance usage got worse, Lyssa was often left in the supervision of her siblings. That meant a lot of time alone with a TV, a stack of movies that weren't made for kids, and nobody checking in. She later confessed that growing up in that kind of atmosphere left her puzzled about what normal even meant. It took a long time and a lot of unpleasant lessons for her to start figuring out what good relationships were meant to look like. And for those who assumed Lyssa and her dad always had a tight bond, the truth was considerably more convoluted. At barely 11 years old, she accused him of something terrible, stating he had abused her. Years later, she clarified that she had been assaulted by someone connected to him rather than by him. But at the time, all she wanted was out. She couldn't manage the continual arguing, the narcotics, and the strain in that household with Dog and Beth. When she relocated to Alaska to live with her mom, things weren't quite simple there either. Her mom was battling her demons, especially with alcohol. But for Lyssa, it felt like a gentler type of turmoil. She had school, friends, and for the first time, a sense of purpose. She was resolved not to go back. Her mother immediately accepted her charges against Dog. Lyssa's latter statement most likely had more to do with how her mother felt about him than anything else. But when most kids her age were thinking about school dancers, Lyssa had to deal with a completely different reality. At 14, she found out she was pregnant. The day after Lyssa turned 15, Abby May, her daughter, was born. The baby's father was a man in his 20s who would later plead guilty to statutory rape. It was a terrible turning point, marking the end of her childhood far too early. By the time Lyssa joined her dad's reality program in 2005, she was barely 18, but she had years of parenting under her belt. Being a teen mother was difficult, especially since there was no true support network. She had a tense connection with her own mother. After the baby was born, her mom moved in with a man, leaving Lyssa and her newborn daughter alone in a trailer and forcing her to pay $500 in rent. Her dad, Dwayne "Dog" Chapman, wasn't doing much better, and she was struggling to make ends meet with just babysitting money. At that moment, she didn't really have anyone to lean on. She once talked candidly about the period, stating that she genuinely believed there was no future for her. Living in Alaska, broke and overwhelmed, she was simply trying to survive day by day with her baby child. The show had already begun to air when she eventually joined the Dog the Bounty Hunter crew. Lyssa had never even seen it, although most people would certainly binge-watch a few episodes to become acquainted. Her family didn't have cable in Alaska, so when she landed in Hawaii to film season 2, the cameras were a huge shock. Producers made a huge deal out of it, calling the show Baby's Back in Town to promote her return after 6 years away. At that point, she was attempting to get back in touch with her father because she thought she might be able to give that aspect of her life another chance. Later on, she talked about how her perspective had changed. She was beginning to feel in control once more. But not long after, in 2007, the show was shaken by a controversy. Dog was caught on tape spouting racist comments, and the show got taken from the air. It came back the next year and lingered on for a while, but it was a reminder that life in the spotlight comes with drawbacks. In 2013, Lyssa got her tale out there in a completely new way. She released a book called Walking on Eggshells: Discovering Strength and Courage Amid Chaos. She claimed that people's continuous comments about how amazing her life was gave her the idea. She reasoned that sharing her story was worthwhile if it may motivate or assist someone else. With the assistance of a large publisher, she made it happen. In her book, she opened out about an abusive relationship she had undergone for years. It started out gently, with pushes and rough clutches, but it grew more intense with time. Even during her pregnancy and the early years of raising her children, the abuse never stopped. It almost killed her one day. He grabbed her by the neck and threw her to the ground after a violent altercation. At that moment, she thought it was the end. But something shifted. She picked up her 2 girls, aged 11 and 3 at the time, and went. The road ahead wasn't simple. Getting him out of the house, filing for divorce, and starting over took months. Lyssa has discussed the complexity of that type of love. Even after everything, she didn't detest him. She said it seemed more like loving someone who's sick with addiction or a serious problem you can't solve. She had to recognize that it wasn't her job to heal him, and that sometimes real love involves letting go. Lyssa remained visible after the conclusion of the reality show. She began designing a new series centered on teen moms, helping them find work, offering support, and providing actual advice. She thought kids were overwhelmed with messages regarding sex. Additionally, they were either chastised by society or made headlines when they were pregnant. She wanted to cut through all that and show something honest. She later disclosed additional details regarding the idea. She'd collaborated with Bunny Murray and was in contact with MTV. The goal was to delve inside the lives of teen moms and record what they were facing. But the timing wasn't perfect, and the show never made it to television. Still, Lyssa didn't vanish from the screen totally. In 2014, she made a guest appearance on Hawaii 5 and popped up in a few episodes of Dog and Beth, her stepmother Beth, and father Dwayne's spin-off series, On the Hunt. However, she then revealed on the Rumor Mill podcast that reality TV was no longer appealing to her in the same manner. If she were to come back, it would have to be for something genuinely important, something more akin to a documentary. Outside of business, life's been a mix of personal progress and heartache. Lyssa claimed that as she grew older, she began to see her father in a different light and realized that Dwayne had done his best to raise her. The attachment between father and daughter maintained strong, especially leading up to Beth's cancer diagnosis in 2017. Beth had been dealing with a persistent cough, and a checkup revealed it was stage 2 throat cancer. Even in the face of that news, she was determined to fight. Dwayne was upset during interviews at the time, clearly shaken and desperate to protect her. Beth underwent surgery and seemed to be on the mend for a period, but the cancer came back hard in 2018. They opened out about her battle in the TV show Dog and Beth, Fight of Their Lives. Around that same period, circumstances between Beth and Lyssa got strained. Beth stated that Lyssa kicked off their feud by ignoring her on Mother's Day in 2019. From there, things got nasty on social media. Beth called Lyssa inappropriate. Lyssa clapped back, claiming she doesn't deal with crap and that she was done participating. Fans jumped into the mix too, some protecting Lyssa, some calling her out. Lyssa didn't hold back, yelling at detractors, and made it obvious she wasn't here for outside comments. Despite all that public back and forth, Beth preferred to keep her attention on the positives, especially her son Gary D., who she shared with Dwayne. In May 2019, she tweeted about him and even exchanged a light-hearted message with Dog that lightened her emotions. By the way, Gary D. has been following in the family's footsteps and become well known in the bounty hunting industry. Lyssa, like Beth, found ways to center herself too. She mentioned how much she enjoyed watching television, particularly Naked and Afraid, and even mentioned that her favorite character was Dustin Duck Campbell. Then came the hardest moment. Beth passed away in 2019 at just 51 years old. Dwayne shared the tragic news online, adding it was 5 32 in the morning in Hawaii, Beth's typical time to walk Coco Head. But that day, she climbed a different path. After the memorial and wiki, Lyssa delivered her tribute. She wrote that she was at a loss for words when sharing a picture of her daughter and Dwayne strolling hand in hand. On Twitter, she remembered Beth with an old video of the two of them pranking Dog and Tim, stating how they used to run the boys. Dwayne later made an effort to dispel rumors regarding the rivalry. He claimed that it was merely the kind of conflict that can arise between strong-willed women and wasn't nearly as dramatic as people made it out to be. According to him, it wasn't about pity or last-minute reconciliations. Before Beth died, they had truly reconciled, but things took a turn in January 2020. Lyssa Chapman didn't hold back when she discovered her dad, Dwayne "Dog" Chapman, had started dating barely 6 months after Beth's death. His new girlfriend, Moon Angel, a woman who had apparently been Beth's assistant for almost 20 years and had even dated one of Lyssa's siblings. That didn't sit right with Lyssa. She moved to social media, accusing Moon of stepping into Beth's place too fast and questioning her motives, especially given how close she'd been to the family for so long. Things escalated when Dog proposed to Moon on live TV during the Dr. Oz show. Although there was a lot of drama, tears, and surprises throughout the event, insiders claimed that Moon became engrossed in her feelings and the spotlight behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Lyssa stayed vocal. When a follower tried to justify Dog's desire for friendship, Lyssa came back with a cutting statement that made it clear she didn't buy any of it. Around that same time, Lyssa got into some major difficulty herself. She was detained in Hawaii in January 2020 on suspicion of harassment and resisting arrest. She explained to The Sun that she and her girlfriend had been drinking when they got into a heated quarrel. She said there was no physical altercation and that she thought the officers were far too combative. But court filings portrayed a tougher picture, stating she made inappropriate contact with officers twice, and it was enough to have her charged with harassment a month later. Lyssa swore to fight the charges and even planned to file a complaint against the police, calling the whole ordeal embarrassing and upsetting for her family. But even with all that turmoil, things between her and Dog started to settle. That March, Lyssa posted a family reunion in Hawaii, saying it felt lovely to reunite. Then, when Dog got engaged again, this time to Francancy Fra in May 2020, Lyssa didn't just accept it, she endorsed it. She offered Francancy a loving shout-out on Instagram, telling the world she was attempting to move forward. Dog and Francancy later sat down with Entertainment Tonight to tell how their connection grew from shared grief. Dog had contacted Francie's house, not aware her husband had lately departed too. From there, their friendship deepened. They depended on each other through the grief of losing Beth and Bob, and it became something more. By 2021, Dog and Francancy were married, although the wedding wasn't drama-y. 2 of Dog's kids, Bonnie and Cecily, were left off the guest list. They told the media they believed it was because they reminded Dog too much of Beth. Bonnie even made grave claims in public, claiming that Dog had not changed from his previous ways and had used racist and homophobic rhetoric throughout filming. Lyssa, on the other hand, stood by her father. Not only did she attend the wedding, but she also openly endorsed his relationship, saying they were in a healthy place and expressing hope that the rest of the family could find the same sense of peace. For better or worse, Lyssa seemed to be holding on to the idea of healing both within herself and with her father. Then, in December 2022, she took to Facebook to share a personal milestone: a year and a half of sobriety. But it hadn't been simple to get there. Lyssa grew up watching addiction tear apart her family. Her mother, Lisa Ray Britton, suffered with substance addiction, and those early years affected a lot of what followed afterward. Eventually, Lyssa found herself following the same road, slipping into drinking and substances at a young age. Things hit a dramatic low in 2011 when she got detained for disrupting the peace. She claimed that after someone had added something to her drink, she found herself lost and confused in the middle of the night on the street. Even after that arrest, sobriety didn't come easy. For years, she continued to drink intermittently. However, something eventually clicked in 2021. Her dog got sick, and Lyssa couldn't drive to the vet since she'd been drinking. She had a flash of insight when inebriated, and sitting in the waiting area with her ailing dog at her side, she wondered, what if this was my kid? That notion hit her hard, and it was enough to motivate her to start those first 30 days sober. From there, the progress just kept flowing. She acknowledged that the holidays were difficult when she reached that 18-month mark in late 2022, but she was committed to staying on course. Lyssa and her father, Dwayne "Dog" Chapman, were in a difficult situation at the same time. In a Facebook Live video, Dog made some ugly words regarding Dylan Mullaney and the LGBTQ+ community, even suggesting violence. It didn't take long for the reaction to hit, especially because Lyssa is part of that community herself. After the live stream, Lyssa stepped forward and apologized publicly to Dylan and the transgender community. She stated those remarks didn't match the man she grew up with, and she couldn't explain what made him go there. She still loved her dad, but was honest about being worried, especially about the kind of media he was tuning into lately. Her sister, Bonnie, also spoke up, calling Dog's statements disturbing. Lyssa, though plainly disappointed, nonetheless stood by her father. She informed followers she sincerely believed he had always loved her and had been supportive. And when charges circulated that Dog was homophobic or racist, Lyssa pushed back. She said that her sisters were misrepresenting the facts and hanging out with old friends who never had the family's best interests in mind. Through it all, Lyssa maintained grounded in her own life. She had been married earlier to Boalante, and they had a daughter, Meline. That marriage didn't last long, but Lyssa wasn't done believing in love. She met Liana in 2016, and in 2022, they tied the marriage in an intimate beach wedding in Hawaii. It was simple and wonderful, just a handful of close family, the surf waves at their feet, and Lyssa's uncle David officiating. Her daughters, Meline and Abby, were there along with her new in-laws. Lyssa called it a dream day and said she felt lucky and truly loved, although admitting that she didn't always believe she deserved this type of happiness. Both women wore white, Lyssa in a flowing maxi dress, Liana in a button-down shirt and shorts, and they wore vivid, tropical flower crowns. Liana sent her own statement after the wedding, stating she still couldn't believe she got to be by Lyssa's side for life. Now, Dog wasn't at the wedding in person, but Lyssa made it obvious that wasn't because of a quarrel. He'd been on the phone with her all morning, even during the wedding. He told People magazine he couldn't return to Hawaii just yet. Without Beth, it was still too difficult. Still, Lyssa stated he'd always demonstrated affection for her relationship and her happiness. In 2024, Lyssa shocked her fans by teasing a potential return. She declared that she was going to retake her bail license exam and shared an old bounty hunting photo. The comments were flooded with support from fans. She explained that she used to have her license when she worked on the program with her dad, but let it expire. Whether she's jumping back into bounty hunting full-time or just staying ready, she made it obvious the Chapman name isn't done yet. And to convey the complete picture, Lyssa has accepted a totally different chapter of her life. She now creates material for OnlyFans. When 2025 rolled around, she ushered out the new year with a beachside photo carousel, sun-soaked, comfortable, and radiating confidence. She displayed a floral bikini, a tribal shoulder tattoo, and even a few calm moments with rainbows and chickens. Fans filled the comments, adoring the excitement and appreciating Lyssa simply being unabashedly herself. From a tough start to sobriety milestones, from public family rifts to finding love, from bounty hunting to beach vibes, Lyssa's narrative keeps developing. If she has demonstrated anything, it is that second chances are not only genuine, but also potent.